Sounds like
This is Sara Konrad Baranowski with the Times Citizen, and I'm joined today by Dominick Rock Damiano, who is a candidate for Iowa Falls School Board. Welcome, nice to have you here, coming from Alaska.
Yeah.
We are going to run through some questions, the same questions we went through with the 3 other Iowa Falls School Board candidates. And I will jump right in and ask you to introduce yourself and tell us why you decided to run for Iowa Falls School Board. Why now?
Well, Dominick Damiano moved to Iowa Falls here in 2014. And just, I've got kids in the school district. My oldest daughter graduated from Iowa Falls. And I have a son that's a sophomore, and then 6th grade and 4th grade. And I just, feel that, I could bring some great insight and things to the school board, and, a different view on, just life and education and kids all together.
So what would be your top 3 priorities as a member of the school board?
Well, obviously the education aspect, understanding, kind of how the school works as far as the curriculum is taught to our kids. One of the other things is, potentially looking at how our meals are structured for our kids. Are they, is that something that they could use some work? And just being very, open-minded to the parents and the teachers' needs in the community.
Okay. Did you say meals? Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Was there something specific about that?
No, I just, it's changed so much from obviously when I was in high school or even grade school. And it's just interesting to see where we're at today versus where we were back then. And is, I think nutrition's huge. And, my wife is a health coach as well. So we're very health conscious, and I've never really dove into it, so I really don't know how it's done. And, you hear from kids, what they had for lunch. It's like, really, that's completely different than it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago when I was in school. So.
All right. So how will you balance your personal views with the needs of the school and the community? And what would happen if those don't align?
Well, I don't think they're always going to align. It's important to keep very open, neutral mind, especially on personal views. It's easy to get into how do I want to say this? Bring your personal views in and then just kind of get off track. So to me, for me, it's kind of easy for me, and the reason being is because of what I do for a living, being in the insurance and financial industry. I have to keep that open mind and keep my personal views and objectives separate of what really is a need for the community and in our education system and so forth. So it's not really hard for me to do. But again, it's not my view that makes the difference. It's everybody else's view and understanding kind of how they look at things and what their priorities are and what they feel is important for their kids. And then just have an open dialogue and kind of letting that align that way.
Okay. Next question. Did you support the bond issue earlier this year? And if you did support it, what do you think needs to be done differently to encourage the community to approve it? And if you didn't, please share why you were opposed to it.
So I did not support the bond issue. And the reason being is in my opinion, I don't think it was portrayed very well to the community. And, after going on that tour on Monday, was it this Monday? Yeah, it was this Monday. It was well taken as far as now understanding what those needs are. And I think that was probably one of the big issues why maybe the bond didn't go through is Mr. Newman said it very well, is it's easy to talk about things, but if you actually see it, you really don't know. And so it's easy to say, well, we need these things. And for me, coming from also a construction background, well, let's just fix those things. But then actually being in those classrooms, doing that walk through all the schools, it started to make sense why it's an important bond. And I think if they, move forward to try to get it approved again, I think it'd be important to express that and do like an open house like they did, on Monday, and have people understand that, it's easy to say one thing, but until you see, you really don't understand. So that I mean, that just, to me, it wasn't portrayed very well what those needs were, because like most people, oh, we'll just fix that. We'll just fix that. We'll just fix that. Well, you really can't. And there's definitely, the rooms are small until you actually sit in that room with all those desks with no kids there. It still seems congested.
And just to be clear, that was the Iowa Falls School Board tour.
Yes,
we had
that's
referenced
correct.
it in the conversation with the other board members too.
Yep. Yes.
So next question, in your opinion, what are the most urgent facilities needs of the district? What do you think the board should pursue, whether that's the bond issue, the way it was presented, or something else maybe that you saw on the tour that you really think needs to be addressed?
Well, I definitely think that, again, going through Pineview especially, I definitely see the need for having a larger classroom and addressing those needs, whether that be, again, if they pursue the bond, is there a way to make those rooms bigger by taking out walls? We saw that also in the high school. Obviously, one of the big things that came to light when was our last stop at Rock Run was the fire system, the fire safety system, and having it portrayed where they just didn't hear the alarm, so there's still kids going through class, teachers teaching. And if it was a fire, that's a big problem. That's definitely one thing that would have to be addressed early.
The next, we got a couple of submitted questions about COVID and the COVID response in the schools. So the next question is, should the FDA approved COVID vaccine be mandatory for students and employees of Iowa Falls schools?
So what was the question on that then?
Do you think the FDA approved COVID vaccine, should be mandatory for students and employees of Iowa Falls schools?
No, I don't believe that. It would be my stance that it's up to the parents and the employees to take the vaccine. Again, it's one of those things, having that choice. Now, whether you have natural immunity or whatever the case may be, it's up to you. I mean, that's the choice that we're giving in life, is to be able to make choices for our bodies and things that we feel is either going to be beneficial or not. So I would not say that they get shots because it's mandatory through the school district.
Next one is, this year the Iowa legislature approved and the governor signed a bill prohibiting mask mandates in schools. Where do you stand on the issue? Should masking be a decision made by parents, or should schools be able to mandate them?
Again, back to the same with the vaccine. It should be the choice of the parents. Again, if you want your child to wear a mask to school, and in the classrooms or even out in public, that is your choice as a parent. And the same goes the other way. If a parent's like, no, I want my children to have fresh air. I want my children not to have, complications or headaches or whatever from, again, it should be the choice of the parents, not a mandate by any means, and that forced onto the kids. Now, obviously that's probably somewhat against the grain on some people, but again, it's the free will choice that we have, and the right we've been given.
Okay, next question. How do you plan to approach Iowa Falls' relationship with the Alden School Board so that the two, although they are different districts, can work toward a goal of educating students for the 21st century?
I think right now, I believe that they have a great working relationship, and again, because we have Alden kids coming to the high school, because they don't do that there, they have to be involved in that decision. It has to be a common goal for both those boards, because again, their children are coming to Iowa Falls to learn, graduate, and move on. So I think it's very important that we work together and for the common goal of our kids that are going to be, in that high school, graduating through Iowa Falls from Alden.
The next question is kind of a two-parter. If I need to repeat it, that's fine. But from your perspective, what do you think the community wants to see most from the school board? And what do you think that the teachers want to see most from the school board?
I think as far as parents go, what I believe that they would want is, again, to be allowed to make the choices, that help their children and be involved and get more involved, having more parents come to school board meetings to address their concerns. And I think the parents want to be able to have that open dialogue and make sure that their voice is heard, and not thrown to the wayside. We're not saying that happens now, but, again, I think there's always discontent with parents on how, school boards and this is, I think, the thought process nowadays is like the school boards they don't want to listen to parents. And I don't believe that's the case with our school board. But again, until you go sit in that meeting, you really don't know. And so you're just kind of going with the status quo, like, oh, school boards are just not going to listen to us. So I think as parents, they want to see our school board, keep that open dialogue, keep that open mind, which I think we do very well. And the same with the teachers. I think that the teachers want to see the school board maybe get more involved, or again, understand the curriculum that they're teaching and why they're teaching it. Again, I've only gone to a couple school board meetings since I've lived in Iowa Falls, but I think that, I don't know how many teachers actually go to the meeting as well. So I think it's having teachers and parents in the community go to those meetings, and again, just wanting the school board to listen to the concerns. Again, kind of be that neutral body, listen to concerns, have the open dialogue, and again, accomplish and achieve the common goal of great education for our kids and graduating prepared to, get out there in the real world, whether that's not going to college and just starting a career right away, or going to college and being prepared. And I think that's a big thing, is that preparedness. I think that, even having my daughter graduate, she was really overcome with all the stuff that goes on when you get to college. So again, I think it's just having that common goal to make sure our kids are prepared to move on to college or a career.
We are already at our last question. So what strengths would you bring to the school board if you are elected?
I think for me, having that open mind and being able to stay very neutral, listen to everybody, and then be able to have that open dialogue for, both what the parents want, what the teachers want. I've been in leadership roles, throughout my lifetime, through the military and different corporate jobs. Even being an entrepreneurial business, it's you have to be able to listen. And again, the big thing is leave your emotions out of it, not because when you take on a role of any elected spot, you're going to get attacked. And what I mean by that is they're going to be very forceful with what they want done and not take offense to it and take it personally. And that's just something I just don't do. And don't get me wrong, my younger days I did, but now I'm much older and understand you just got to sit there and listen and be that catalyst for them, that sounding booth. And at the end of the day, my grandfather's, when you can't make 100% people happy 100% of the time, but you have to make the attempt to understand everybody and address all those concerns. And I think that's a strength that I bring, all the time, because that's what I do for a living. I have to listen to people, and there's always conflict, but you just got to be able to take it. Sometimes it's tough, but when you take on that position in a board, you're taking on that toughness from people who may not be happy with the answers you give. So that's one of the biggest strengths I think I'll bring to the school board.
Well, those are all of the questions. I really appreciate you taking the time, or making the time to answer the questions and let people get to know you. We'll have the profiles in the paper also, so people can read through those. But thank you again.
Yes.
It was nice talking with you.
All right. Well, you have a great rest of the week.
Okay. Thank you.